Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. So we're picking up at Devil's Hollow, where we just finished our lunch stop and heading west just a couple of k's back and calling in at Lankey Plains Hut that I've never actually visited before. Very close to the main Dargo High Plains Rd. Coming out of there, heading north, back on the main High Plains Road, all the way up past Blue Rag Range Track, all the way back up to where it meets the Great Alpine Rd, almost at Hotham. Couple of kilometres back towards Harriettville on the Great Alpine Rd, and we're doing Guns Track, which you might recall is a really scenic track that I did in a video last year. I think I called it Harriettville to Dargo High Plains the back way. Epic track. The guys have convinced me I've completely undersold this in the past video. This should be on everybody's top 10 must do. So have a look at the video today and see what you think, guys. But yeah, Guns Track, and then from Guns Track left onto Pheasant Creek, then on to variably Guns Track or West Ovens Track, and then up onto the Albion Track here. And the Albion Track is a 20+ kilometre long spur track running along this range here, sort of paralleling the Great Alpine Rd, right up on top of the spur. Some amazing views, pretty easy drive. We had a couple of little obstacles that were seasonal, but yeah, pretty easy drive generally, and just an amazing ridgeline drive. Now, our original plan was to come down one of these three tracks here: Steiner's Lane, Cavalier Spur Track, or the Homeward Bound Track. None of those exist, at least at the top end. We actively looked for those along here and could not find a trace of one of those tracks. So we're really hoping we'd get another opportunity, which we did. So followed it to the end here. Hillsborough Track definitely exists. This continuation of Wet Gully Track definitely exists. So they both would take you down to the Wandillagong side. And we actually went down the Reliance Track here to the Great Alpine Rd. And we aired up there and then just ducked into a nice little free camp on the Ovens River. And I'm not going to mark the location of that one. It's it's a little bit hard to find off the beaten path, so to speak. And there's only 2 campsites in there. So yeah, if you know where it is, some of you will. Great. If not, you can probably find it if you go looking for it. So anyway, without any further ado, guys, let's get into the video. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and we're picking up where we left off on the last video at Devil's Hollow. So we're just leaving Devil's Hollow now.
Hang on, Dan, I want to take a photo.
As you can see, the camp spots there are pretty well formed up by rocks. Excuse me, coughing there. If you've been following this series of videos, you know that I was just getting over COVID doing this trip. It had been booked in for months, so I wasn't going to hold the guys up or miss the trip, but yeah, consequently I wasn't feeling 100%. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this trip. It was just awesome. So quick run, couple of k's out from Devil's Hollow there. We're back nearly to the Dargo High Plains Rd, and we're going to turn right here and follow this little track over here down to Lankey Plains Hut. And as I said in the last video, despite the fact that this hut is actually quite close to the main road, this is the first time I've ever actually visited this hut. So you can see it just up ahead there coming up. So if you're one of the...
I mean, have a look at it. I mean, I know it's a tin shed, but it's just a backdrop and everything. And can you imagine looking at that and there's just snow all over the place? Just beautiful.
If you like to try and visit as many high country huts as you can, this is definitely an easy one to get to. Now, as you can see there on the screen, I definitely took some footage of inside the hut, but I can't find it. I don't know what's happened.
Turning right.
So if you want to see inside the hut, you're going to have to stop there on the High Plains Road, and
Okay, turn right.
check it out yourself. So as you just heard and read on the screen there, we've come out back onto the High Plains Road. We've turned right, we're heading north on the Dargo High Plains Rd, and we're going to follow the High Plains Road all the way north till it meets the Great Alpine Rd. This is Dan's last day on the trip. He's got to head home tomorrow, and I was very, very keen to take the guys on Guns track. Again, long-time followers of the channel might remember my video from last year or so, which was, I think the title was Harrietville to Blue Rag, or Harrietville to Dargo High Plains Rd the back way. Well worth checking out. In that video I did Guns track the other way. This is an epic track. By all accounts of the guys on this trip, I've way undersold this track. So as you can see here, we're just starting Guns track. It's about 2 k's to the northwest of where the High Plains Road meets the Great Alpine Rd. And knowing that there's a steady climb here, yeah, I've just dropped it straight into low range. This little building here on the left is a ranger station, and the track continues up.
Little ranger hut there, eh?
And to the right.
I was going to ask what it was. Okay.
Not a super difficult track,
Sweet B&B, I'd stay there.
but so worth it. Some of the best views, and you know, look, I'll let the guys speak for themselves. You'll catch that on the UHF. Starts off with this nice little climb, just a good steady climb, nothing too difficult about it. Definitely want to be in four-wheel drive, low range, all of that, but yeah, it's just a good steady climb. It's probably a good thing you don't need to worry too much about winching or anything on this track, because as you can see, it has been cleared, you know, a decent way back from the actual main track. By this time the weather had well and truly cleared as well. It was really turning it on for us. Blue sky, sunshine, that earlier sort of drizzle that we had is well and truly gone, which of course was making me think that I could have stuck to my plan and still could have gone and done the tracks over to the east that I planned to do. But it was awesome to be able to bring the guys on this particular track, Guns track. Why this is not a track that's talked about more, I don't know. But yeah, this first couple of k's actually takes you up to the summit of Mount Sugarloaf. And as I said, it does just
It's a good little climb, eh?
keep on going.
Pretty loose, rock on it.
Yeah, it was a bit.
And the camera doesn't really show that, but yeah, a little bit loose, but you know, nothing too difficult. These sections are almost two-wheel drive though, you know, so once you get over that, there's only a couple of sections here that a little bit loose and rocky, but the rest is just basically two-wheel drive, fire trail sort of stuff. But definitely worth it for the view. And as I was saying, I don't understand why this track doesn't get talked about more. I mean, look, you can see here, ridgeline, very narrow, track just falls away to both sides. You sort of snake your way through the trees, and when you get up this other side again, you get some great views down the valley. It's really is just amazing. And the camera just does not do this justice. It really doesn't. It's a little bit glary for the cameras as well, particularly when shooting through glass. Again, you can see this ridgeline section here at Guns track. Quite a steep fall off either side, pretty narrow on top, and it just keeps going and going. Another section that's a little bit loose and rocky. Again, I wouldn't say anything too difficult.
Yeah, I don't think this really is consistent with the HEMA rating of easy.
Yeah, I think all that rating's a little crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think this warrants at least a medium.
Agree.
And look, I would say that it warrants a medium mostly for the gradient, you know, the couple of sections that are a little bit looser.
Remember that McAllister River track, it had an easy rating, including that bit, that river crossing where Matt wrecked his Prado.
Yeah, true.
See that, you know, that's open for litigation, that one there. If someone goes off the maps and says, well, I went down there, wrecked my car and someone died, and you tell them it's easy. Oh, what a crack.
So yeah, what a cracker.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the rest of it might be easier, but that crossing's not easy.
What a cracker. I think Luca just said it all there. Look at that view as you crest up over that hill.
Gee, what a view.
Just an amazing outlook to the north across the high country. Looking at the roof. Just the roof of the high country.
The 75 series used, it's wrecked on the side of the track there at the river crossing.
And this section of track does get a little bit steeper.
Part shop.
This is definitely where it warrants that medium rating. It's steeper, rockier, pretty loose, and some big drop-offs on the side. And look, as I say, the camera just doesn't do this justice. Particularly this section coming up where there's just a massive big drop-off on the side. It's quite an interesting feeling driving that. So yeah, that's the gearing of the 76 slowing me up a fair bit there. And again here you've got views back towards Blue Rag Range. You can see this is pretty rocky, a little bit rough. Coming up on another big sweeping section of the track here. There's a much steeper climb than the camera would sort of suggest to you. Luca's iPhone.
On your video, Jason, did you videotape all of these tracks?
Yep.
You guys all good, Paul and Dan?
Certainly did video all this. So it goes to show Luca watches everything that we put up on the channel, and he's not reconciling what he's seeing in person with what he's seen on the videos. So just goes to show, guys, you've got to get out there and see it for yourselves. We do the best we can to sort of show it to you, but you've really got to be there. Luca's camera and his iPhone does a better job showing the gradients here than the GoPro does, and I'm pretty sure coming up you'll see a comparison of the GoPro footage versus Luca's footage. Yeah, this is big open section here, steep descent, big climb up the other side, big drop-offs. So you can see the GoPro footage on the left, how that flattens that, and then you can see Luca's footage there on the right, which gives you a much better appreciation for just how steep this actually is.
Very nice.
You can see there, you know, the angle the vehicles are going down. Yeah, okay, this section here is a little bit of a flat section, but it's just chalk and cheese between with what the GoPro shows you in terms of what it looks like. You know, in the GoPro it looks like this section is still flat. You can see there on the right it was very much another descent. So it's just one of the things with the GoPros, with their smoothing and everything, they're very much designed to flatten things, and that's what they do. Again, I think Luca's footage on the right here gives you a much better appreciation of how steep this climb is. Big drop off there on the left hand side that just goes away to nothing, and you know, the GoPro's probably capturing a bit more of that just because of the angle that it's mounted on, but in terms of the actual gradient of the track, it doesn't really do it justice. You've got these amazing views out to that side there that none of the cameras are sort of really capturing. Maybe Luca's footage is capturing it a little bit, particularly as you swing around here, but you can see that edge just dropping off there. This is just unreal to drive. It really is. I don't like to oversell things, but this is just pretty gnarly driving along here with this really massive drop off there on that side of the track. You know,
So much room on this track, eh?
I highly recommend you check this one out.
Whilst I've got you, Jason, you did Sugarloaf before on your video, but did you actually videotape all these tracks?
As in today?
No, on your last video of Sugarloaf.
Yes.
Roger. I remember you doing it, but I just don't remember how pretty this area is, and it astonishes me that I've never done this bloody track.
Yeah, and the views would have been different because I did this one coming the other direction.
I mean, if you could capture this, what I can see in front of me, the tracks and the ridge lines and the steepness and the rocky road, this is a blue rag trip.
Yeah, well that's why, you know, with Dan heading off tomorrow, that's why I wanted to make sure we got this one in.
Geez, you didn't talk it up too much, but dude, this is insane.
Yeah, this is next level.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Well, it's certainly a surprise for me. That's, in a way, I'm glad you didn't talk it up, because a surprise is good.
Yeah, look, I find this a pretty epic trip, but yeah, just as I said, I'm just stunned that it doesn't get talked about more as a track.
You can come again, Jason.
I think I will.
Gun track. I like it. Very nice.
So, as you're hearing there, guys, the consensus is pretty much this is just an awesome track. You see there, I was spitting out a few rocks, so definitely a little bit loose on the surface. Something you got to watch out for. But yeah, like as I said, Luca watches all the videos, and what he was seeing there just wasn't reconciling with what he had seen in the videos, to the extent that he was even questioning whether I filmed this part of the track. And I certainly did. On that back way from Harrietville video, definitely did film that section.
Yeah, I am surprised that you've never happened to do this one, Luca.
Yeah, I've been thinking ever since I've started this track, and I'm just trying to work out why I've never done it, whether or...
So, yeah, after the
Alright, let me
first
just double check my map here at this intersection, which way we're going.
8Ks here, we're keeping right to stay on Guns track. That track to the left is actually a dead end track. Probably not for today, but one day I will check that out. Interesting little track that's not actually on the topos. It is on the HEMA maps, but for some reason it's not on the topos. It looks to go out to a camp or a lookout or something, so not 100% sure. But for us, we're going to keep following Guns track. So that's the first 8Ks down, and it's never too long on Guns track between the next steep climb, and we've got probably another 5-6 Ks to go before we meet up with the Pheasant Creek track. And as I said, you can see how the GoPro sort of flattens the hills as you get to them. I'm not saying this is crazy steep, but it's certainly a lot steeper than it looks in this footage here. That is for sure. for such an accessible track that you can get to off the main bitumen, it's a great way to go to the Dargo High Plains Rd. If you're coming from Harriettville, just take the back way on West Ovens and then Guns Creek track and then straight on to Guns track, which is what I did in the back way video. Really nice drive, and now that I've driven it a couple more times, I'm going to try towing my Drifter Dot camper trailer on this track. I'm going to try that. Don't know about trying that solo, because I wouldn't want to get stuck on one of those really steep sections and have nothing to winch off, but I definitely think that's worth trying. Anyway, future trip. Coming up here, we're actually coming up to a helipad here, which doesn't seem to be marked on the HEMAs, but did give us an opportunity to pull up and
That heavy climbing's got my temperature gauge moved a little
take
bit.
in the view. And yeah, look, great view from the helipad. As the guy said, I reckon Guns track is every bit as good as Blue Rag when it comes to views. So yeah, without doubt, well worth doing. So just a quick stop there, and leaving the helipad. The threat of rain's gone, so using the Hero 7, which is not my usual main camera, so I don't have a weatherproof case for that camera. So I've mounted it outside now because it looks like the rain's gone, and I do prefer the angle. Like quite a few of you have commented on the videos, it's great having the UHF chatter, and look, that probably adds a bit of colour to the trips as well. So you know, maybe I need to look at a way of having my cake and eating it too. It's probably, in the end of the day, buying more cameras, but I do prefer the angle from outside here up on top. So this particular section here, we're keeping left onto Pheasant Creek track. And I just sort of slowed up a little bit there just to wait for the guys to catch up with me. They weren't actually far behind. I just sort of lost sight of them there for a little bit, and didn't want to lose anybody at an intersection, which can happen. So I just waited until I knew for sure that they'd all actually caught up to me. And as you can see, there's another couple of vehicles up ahead here stopped, so they were just having lunch, and fortunately they'd only just pulled up, so the second one just moved off the track for us, and so did the one in front of us. So probably like us, they hadn't seen too many other people and fully expected they would remain undisturbed while having lunch until we came along, ruined their lunch stop. I don't think we did. And we're only heading a relatively short distance down here. Before turning off this track. See again, like a lot of the high country tracks, this is working its way along the side of the hill. Scenic through here. Again, this latter section here is all pretty easy driving, but definitely scenic. Not heaps of room, but we didn't have a lot of traffic to have to worry too much about anything like that either, which was good. Yeah, it's always good after a stop there. The water was shuffled up a little bit. plan here today, as I said in the intro, is to get around onto the Albion track and then head down towards the Ovens River near Smoko for a secret river camp. And there's so many tracks through this part here that we you sort of zigzag across them. So coming to this intersection here, that's the Paddy Hill track on the left, and this section here we're on is actually still part of Guns track on some maps. So we're keeping right here on Guns track. Now on other maps this is part of the West Ovens track, so again it's that naming inconsistency, but basically we're going to follow this this part of Guns track or West Ovens track, whichever it happens to be, for about 6 to 8 kilometres before turning then onto the Albion track, which is a ridgeline track running through this this range and this part of the state forest. This track was in pretty good condition, as you can see when we've driven it. You can see the grader tracks there. It had very recently been graded, and there hadn't been a lot of rain, so it hadn't had the opportunity to get too soft. I can definitely see this is a track that, with some traffic and some wet weather over time, it's probably going to develop some soft spots, particularly in areas like this where you can see this darker black soil already starting to get a little bit softer in spots. So I can definitely see that happening, but for the most part this is pretty easy driving, at least at the moment. At least these sort of tracks as well, you know, there's generally trees around if you do have to winch. But yeah, the main part of the track was pretty hard, pretty dry, well compacted, and you know, very much a two-wheel drive sort of road. So we've reached the end of that section here, and we're turning left off the Guns track or the West Ovens track and onto the Albion track, which takes us up to the ridgeline and Albion Point as well. So this is just a short 2 kilometre section that climbs up to the top of the ridgeline on the spur for this range. And this is not a particularly steep or difficult track, just a nice little run, nice little drive. And we were making really good time. And a little bit of exploring, because these tracks, so I've obviously done Guns track before, but this particular track and the Albion track, I'd never done them before. And look, as you'll see, I'd have to say the Albion track ends up being one of those ridgeline tracks that, again, is pretty epic. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy driving ridgeline tracks where they follow the range for quite a long time. This sort of stuff here is quite scenic as well, where it's climbing and winding its way around the side of the range, but there's something about driving those ridgeline tracks where it falls away on both sides. And the Albion track is, I guess, coupled with the wet gully track at the end, is one of the longest ridgeline tracks I've driven, and it's pretty epic. Some great views. But yeah, here we're still climbing up to the top. As I said, this is not a super long climb, and I think we're getting close to actually joining onto the main Albion track. Pretty steep drop off there on the right hand side, as you can see, but you got a lot more track to work with here, so it doesn't sort of feel quite so bad. And this is where Paddy's Hill track comes back in and joins the Albion track on the left. So we could have actually gone around on Paddy Hill's track and come in that way. And we're climbing our way up to Albion Point at the moment, which is probably 2 k's down along this track. Albion Point is 1,244 metres of elevation, and again you can see the track here is in quite good condition. So this was mostly just a great afternoon driving. We'd had a couple of challenging days, as you would know having watched those videos. So it was nice to have an easier day, particularly given it was the last day that Dan was going to be with us. So Devil's Hollow was great to get to. It was really good to do the Mount Ewan Jeep track again, and then bring the guys here along Guns track and up here onto the Albion Spur or Albion Ridgeline track. So just reaching Albion Point here at 1,244 metres. So just pulling up to sort of appreciate the view that the camera probably didn't quite capture out there. And so in terms of how long a run this is as a proper spur track, you're looking at, to where we exited, you're looking at about 24 kilometres of ridgeline track driving like this up on the spur of the range, with alternating views out to the left and the right. So when you're heading north like we are here, out to the left you're looking back towards Mount Buffalo and looking across Wandillagong, and when you're looking out to the right you're looking across Freeburgh, Smoko, Harrietville, towards Toowoomba. And I mean, look at that, guys. How good is that? Again, you just crest the hill and it just opens up in front of you, and you've got this track, just a couple of kilometres of track snaking its way out in front of you. You've got mountains in the distance. I love this kind of stuff. Maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, but just love these kind of tracks. So whenever I find one like this that's an absolute gem, it's always a great find. I don't mind tackling the tough stuff, but I certainly love finding amazing natural places like this where you can really enjoy it. And yeah, it's done it again. You come around the corner and there it is, just opening up. The fact that the track's cleared a lot down the side really opens that view up for you as well, which is great. And heading north here, we've got some great views back to the Toowoomba range, almost towards probably Bright. And probably looking at Mount Porpunka, that sort of area through there. And yeah, just taking it steady and enjoying the view. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And of course, for every section that goes down, there's another section that goes up. And every time you're coming towards cresting one of these hills, you're saying to yourself, what's the view going to be like when I get over this hill? What am I going to see? And yeah, it just opens up for you again. And again, you've got probably a kilometre of track there in front of you. So you can certainly maintain a good pace on this section, this part of the track. It's a nice firm rock base without being, gravel base without being too rocky. And these little elevated knolls like this that you come across give you some different glimpses, and looks into the distance does change throughout its length. I mean, it's generally a pretty solid base, but it does get a little more woody at different times. Definitely a great track to drive. So if you like driving Buffalo Range and those sort of tracks, I highly recommend this. Now, as I said, our original plan was to take the Albion track and then head down to the Ovens River near Smoko, and there was actually 3 different tracks on the HEMA map, as I said at the start, that we could have taken to get down there. None of them seemed to exist, so we had to keep pushing past those, and we're kind of like, when are we going to be able to get off this ridgeline track? Now, there was one at the end, as I said at the start, the Reliance track that actually took us down to Freeburgh, so that is a potential entry point for you. Freeburgh's just outside of Bright, as you'll see, but yeah, we had to push all the way onto there, so another nice sort of rocky little climb. Definitely still evidence of the bushfires from a few years ago through here for sure. You know, honestly, it almost felt like I've cut a lot of this track out for you guys, because you don't need to watch 3 hours of us driving on this ridgeline track. But we're starting to wonder at times, how long are we going to be on this thing? Are we going to get down? Particularly once we realised the 3 tracks, and we're just planning to take any one of them, knowing that sometimes not all the tracks that are shown on the map are actually there. Well, in this case, none of them were. So, a little bit of a steeper descent here. And this is the big main intersection. So as you can see there on the screen, we've got the Mongrel Creek track on the left, we've got Cemetery Lane on the right that could take us down to Harrietville. Little did we know that was our only opportunity to exit here. If we didn't exit there, which we didn't, we were going to be on this thing for still another probably 15 k's at this point, where we thought we were only going to be on here for another probably 3 to 5 k's and exit at Smoko. But yeah, that Cemetery Lane will take you down to Harrietville. So instead we continued on straight ahead, and this is where the track changes from the Albion track to the Wet Gully track, and so we're now pushing forward on Wet Gully track. Steady little climb here in sections, that's for sure. Nice and long, and just a gradual climb up. Yep, just always seem to be climbing. And I guess unusually for me, I was trying to get us to camp a little bit earlier in the day than we would normally get there on one of my trips, for a couple of reasons. One, I've got this really cool campsite picked out, and in this particular location there is literally only 2 campsites. A lot of locals probably know about these spots. I've marked them on the map because, you know, there's just not that much room there. So, you know, for those of you that watch the video and know where it is, that's great, you know where it is. For the others, well, you know, if you look hard enough, you'll find it. But no, don't ask me in the comments exactly where the campsite is, because I won't be telling you. Yeah, so working our way on this ridge, you can see here again, it's turned into a ridgeline track with good fall off both sides, and just pulling up here because at this point, this is where I'm looking for those tracks to go down to Smoko. So Steiner's Lane, Cavalier Spur track, and the Homewood Bound track. All of those were quite close to each other here, within sort of a kilometre of each other, and they were on my map, which I have on the HX2 on the dash, and I'm just looking, I'm going, well, there hasn't been tracks there for a long time, because there was not even the barest hint of a track that, you know, we could even have a look at and go, hey, do we want to have a crack and try and drive this? They've been gone a long time, those tracks, so we really had no choice other than to push on. Now I did scroll ahead and I did see the Reliance track up ahead, and I thought, well, you know, if not that one, then hopefully one of the other ones. Even if we end up down in Wandillagong, which is on the wrong side, we can drive around to where we wanted to, or we can camp somewhere else. Yeah, we really had no choice but to push on. Wending our way through the trees here. And it's, yeah, good steady run. We're certainly generally able to maintain a good speed. Now, just coming up here is our first obstacle, and I very quickly saw the obstacle and also saw this bypass track, so pulled off the main track almost before, you know, realising. And yeah, so I think this one had been down a little while, and there was a pretty well established bypass track around him, so just drove that and we're able to keep on keeping on. Fortunately, yeah, nice, easy, ready-made path around that one. And again, just throwing up here to, I guess, one, probably make sure all the guys got around and we bunch up and stay in touch, but also just looking again to see, hey, what about these tracks? It just clearly wasn't to be. Starting to have a little bit of a descent here. So just finding my gear and letting the engine braking do its thing and control this descent. While the trees do obscure it a little bit here, you can certainly see that view into the distance. So, look, my apologies guys if I've included a little bit too much of this ridgeline track. Be interested in some feedback on that. We really enjoyed driving this, so I wanted to sort of convey to you guys just how long this actually was, because it was hugely long. And yeah, as you can see there on the screen, before not too long, we've got another challenge up ahead. And this one's doing a pretty good job blocking the track. Dan's 90 series Iron Emu.
I'll have to cut this side, then that side.
Yeah.
But we can get around. Yeah. Like I say, it's doable and borderline. Yeah. Great work, Jason. Borderline. I think this will be fine.
Yeah, you're probably right. Kill a few small things there. And
So yeah, a little bit of track clearing here.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Not sure how exactly Luca and Paul got volunteered, but
This camera's a bit heavy.
they were into it pretty quick. Dan was filming. Luca and Paul were moving the wood. Clearly I was supervising. But yeah, it didn't require too much
leftovers from the
in the way
bushfires.
of moving stuff to clear a bit of a path where we could just drive around the end.
That's looking like a road already.
A little bit off camber, but you know, none of us had chainsaws with us that were going to be big enough for the bar to go
And I hate disturbing them. Have a look
all the
at
way through that trunk. Lucas found some ants.
little legs. I've upset them.
You can see there, as the guys walk past the end of it, it's a pretty decent sized tree. I mean, it's not massive, but it's pretty decent size. So, you know, while we could have attacked it with our chainsaws, it would have been several hours work. And when in just a few minutes we could just move a few broken pieces and drive around the end of it, that was much easier. So that's the top end of the tree that's broken apart as it's hit the ground. So Paul heading off first in the FJ. And Luca in the GU. See, a little bit off camber, but yeah, nothing difficult. And I've tucked in behind Luca. I do love that sound of the V8, like especially low revs like that. It just rumbles past you. And Dan coming past in the Iron Emu.
Not bad. No way we're going through that thing.
No.
So yeah, quick little bit of clearing there, and we're all around the end of it and mobile and continuing to head north on the wet gully track. Continuing to be quite a scenic track to drive. We're all just kind of wondering when it is we're going to find our way down. Again, a little bit of a steeper section here descending. You can see Paul's FJ just up ahead there. So again, we've shuffled the vehicles a little bit. So Paul's in front with me in behind him, and I think Dan in behind me, and I think Luca might be tucked in behind Dan. So yeah, another long section of track here. And you can see a little bit more evidence of recent storms here with some small branches down. Nothing we had to stop for. Up here, and again Paul's managed to drive over the end of that one, so kind of means, well, that's what we're all doing now. And lo and behold, we find ourselves at yet another blockage on this track. And this one, there were no two ways about it. It did necessitate getting the chainsaw out. So Paul's got his trusty Ryobi electric chainsaw. And none of these are particularly large branches, so they're pretty manageable.
Make these a bit wider. Good now.
So once again, Paul got volunteered to cut the wood and drag it off. Not exactly sure what Luke and I were doing. I got a feeling I was probably playing with my camera or something, trying to get something set up. Yeah,
good job, Paul.
The saw's made very short.
Great success.
Short work of that. And Paul's just got a Ryobi battery charger in the back of his car, and those batteries just go straight back on the charge. So if he needs his saw again down the track, it'll be charged again, assuming it's not too far. We were hoping, getting a little bit later in the day, we were hoping to have a smooth run from here through to camp, and there weren't going to be too many or any more branches down over tracks, but we needed to get ourselves to that Reliance track, find it, and then we knew we only had a few k's down, and yeah, finally we got there. So that's Hillsborough track on the left. Wet Gully track continues straight ahead on that ridgeline, and this is the Reliance track that we were hoping against hope was actually going to be here. And we know this is our track down to Freeburgh. It's going to get us back to the Great Alpine Rd. So some nice views as you come down here, doing the 180, working our way down the side of the range, particularly out to the left. Pretty steep side of the hill, as you can see there. This section as well, like, you know, really sharp drop-offs on the side of these tracks. Yeah, this was actually pretty steep, just in case that's not apparent, as I put there on the screen. It was a decently steep descent here, and you know, having the other vehicle for some reference there sort of helps convey that, I think. which is really good. And then when you get towards the bottom, of course, like a lot of parts in the high country closer to towns, there's a pine plantation that you drive through to get back out onto the main road. And that is a local water treatment pond down there. We were speculating on what that was. It looked very neat and man-made, and sure enough it was. You can see it's fenced off. And that's the Great Alpine Rd just up ahead. Nice convenient spot here on the right for us to pull over and air up again. Because Dan was heading home the next day, and where I planned to take Luca and Paul the next day was going to be a little bit of a drive on the bitumen. So yeah, recommended to everybody to air up. Running the Telltale Orange ARB hose, and yeah, I'm still using the Milwaukee. So yeah, great little compact unit. Been pretty happy with this. Since I've moved from these 32s to the 33s, the rugged terrains takes a bit longer. And here's our camp on the Ovens River. So as I said, guys, sorry I'm not going to show you how to get here. It's a cracking little spot. There's only 2 camps in here, right on the river. They're free camps. I don't know if they're on wiki camps or anything like that. Probably not. But yeah, some of you probably know where these are. And yeah, it was nice to get to camp early. I started setting up, but I was actually pretty wrecked from still recovering from COVID. A couple of days behind the wheel, some hard long days. I was pretty wrecked. Grabbed a tinny and just
What do you reckon, Jay? Successful trip?
crashed in my
Yeah, it's been
chair
good.
here.
I think we've had everything, haven't we? We've had epically difficult drives, and we've had epically visual drives. So I think we've covered all the bases, haven't we?
I think so too. Billy Goat Bluff in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Scrubby Hill track,
In the rain.
winching and snatching, and in one section.
Yeah.
Rivers in the ruts coming down off
Yep.
Tea Tree track.
That was nuts.
So yeah, excuse my seeming perhaps lack of interest there. I was just wrecked. Dan was doing the right thing and trying to engage with me a little bit, and I was just pretty wrecked and out of it. Yeah, captured a little bit more footage around camp here. Everybody's sort of getting set up a little bit,
Tonight's campsite.
and it's a cracking little spot in here, sort of hidden away.
Right on this little river here. Cracking spot.
And there's a couple of little deep holes in there. You can see there's shallow sections where you can see the rocks, but then next to that there's some deep holes in there that are sort of chest deep, so you can sort of get in there and have a good little swim. And usually the current's not too strong here either. So yeah, got the stretcher out, and I'm just like, yeah, that's as far as we're going for setup at the moment. We'll get the RS1 out later. Luca and Paul were good enough to sort out the firewood situation for us. So got the RS1 set up now. The light's sort of fading a little bit, and Dan was starting to get sorted. Being his last night on the trip, he'd volunteered to cook for us. It's always a good night when Dan cooks for us. The meal is always good. He cooked us up some really tasty steak with mac and cheese and some roast veg. And I don't know, you know, it always seems to be the way when somebody else cooks it, it tastes even better than you think it's going to taste. And Dan takes the time to do all the things that I don't when it comes to cooking. He is inspiring me to, you know, put a little bit more effort maybe into my camp cooking. So he is rubbing off on me a little bit, but I certainly enjoy eating the food he cooks, that's for sure. And yeah, he's got all the gear for it. got the steak out there, just coming up to sort of ambient temperature. He's got the roast veggies on already in the camp oven there with the coals. Dan's 11 secret herbs and spices. I think it's actually the first one. I think it's pepper, and I think there was some garlic that he's put on there then.
With steaks, you want to let the salt soak in so it looks moist, and then it comes up to the surface again. It looks wet, and then once it dries again, you know that's when the salt's all absorbed into the meat. So that's what I sort of wait for, is it to look wet and then dry again.
Perfect.
So just using pepper. This is fancy pepper that I got. I think it's from Cambodia or something. There's a shop called Aussie Barbecue Smoke. They're in Carrum Downs in Victoria, and they sell to barbecue and like smoking, that sort of thing. And this is the special. This creates like the crust you get on really nice brisket and that sort of stuff. But I reckon it's got a delicious flavour, so I just use it for everything.
Sounds good.
And then this is just some dried garlic granules, which I think is just as good as fresh garlic.
And yeah, there's the finished meal. Steak came out great, veggies were awesome, and the mac and cheese was just spot on. I can't cook mac and cheese that good at home, so let alone at a camp. So guys, look, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Like this video if you liked it. Leave some comments down below. Always enjoy reading those. And also, it really helps a lot if you subscribe to the channel. So if you enjoy our stuff and you enjoyed any of our videos, this one in particular, please do click that subscribe button. See you in the next video, guys.